Hi, hello, and welcome back to Reading with SJ, where I give book reviews and stuff like that. But today we're going to do something a little different, and I'm going to talk about books from my childhood to my high school years that I absolutely loved, and I just will not part with them because I can actually sit down and reread them over and over and over again. So first up, we have His Dark Materials, Book 1, The Golden Compass. I absolutely love this book. Give me anything about a young girl going off on an adventure, trying to save the world, whatever, bonding with animals, this and that, having a little animal food. I love it. I eat that shit up. I love it. So this is by Philip Pullman. It is like a whole series. I have not read past the first one, so maybe you can call me a fake fan. I don't know, but I love this book. I've seen the movie. I've seen the TV show. I absolutely love it. Love it. And fun fact, this is actually where I got my daughter's name from. So I won't say which character, but just know got her name out of this book. Yeah, read it. Read it. It's I love it. Next up, from my later years in elementary school. My later years in elementary school, we have Bunny Claw. It's like a play on Dracula, but I love this book. It was about an animal or animals. Like, this family adopted a bunny, and the other animals in the house thought that this bunny was like a vampire. And was this like my early introduction to Twilight and my obsession with vampires? I don't know. But it was about animals that talked, and I loved it. I was a big animal lover. If you didn't know, big animal lover when I was younger. I loved reading books about animals. I loved this. This is not my original copy. LA, when she came home from school one day, she chose this out of the free books that all the kids can choose at the end of the month from their library. She chose this book, and I was like, just take it after me. So yeah. Next we have Shiloh. This, I feel like it was a staple for 90s kids growing up. You had the movie introduced you to the book, or you had the book first and then the movie came out. Either way you look at it, Shiloh was I think brought us all to tears at the age of 8. And it's about an animal. It's about a dog, and this boy who finds this dog on a bridge called, I think, Shiloh Bridge, takes the dog in, names it Shiloh. The family falls in love with it, but the dog actually belongs to a neighbor who lives a little further up down the road, and just talks about the journey of the boy and the dog and the family trying to adopt the dog because the dog was not being very well taken care of. It was just, I loved it. And then this might be controversial to some people because I know there's a lot of controversy lately around this book. I don't understand it. Maybe it's because I live in a world of rainbow and butterflies. I don't know. But Lord of the Flies. You're going to see that a lot of these books are very old, very worn. A majority of them are. This belonged to my grandmother, and she gave me a bunch of books from her childhood. And this was one of them from her childhood, teen years. So this is a very old copy. I mean, it even has that old book smell. Yeah, I loved this book. I read it in 6th grade. And then when I got to high school, my 9th grade English class, we had to read this book and do a report on it about topics and themes and stuff like that throughout the book. And I was like, I'm already one step ahead of you. I read it in 6th grade. But yeah, something about books where you take a group of kids and they've got to go on an adventure or they've got to do survival. I loved that stuff growing up, and I still love it to this day. But yes, Lord of the Flies. It's about a group of boys who are going on a school trip. The plane goes down. one of the adults, I think he ends up dying later on in the book or something like that, but the boys split off into two groups and they're like trying to survive when really all they should have done was try and come together and work as one. Yeah, so yeah, it's a good book. Came out in like 1954. This, in here it says this is like the second printing of it, like the second edition. I don't know, because I know they don't use this cover anymore, but I loved this book. Loved it. Next we have, this is actually a newer book. They just re-released these with newer covers. I had the older covers when they first came out, and it was of these girls dressed in these beautiful Victorian dresses, and it is the Luxe, L-U-X-E series. I don't have the first one. I only have the last three, but it is a Luxe novel, is Rumors. So you have Luxe, Rumors, Envy, and Splendor. And it is just about these girls living in like the age of New York, where it was kind of like almost like the Victorian era. And I'm obsessed with that time of history, like the dresses, the corsets, the decor, all of that. I'm just like drawn to that. And it just revolves around a group. Think Gossip Girl if it was set in the Victorian era. That is the best way I can describe it. Best way. I ate this shit up. And I will still go back and reread it. I lost my entire set of these books in a move, but thankfully Ollie's came through and had these for all of $1.99. The only one they did not have was the first one, so I am still on the hunt for the first one, but loved this series too. And another old book. Listen, do not come for me in the comments with how old, ragged, and beat up these books look. One, they were books that I have had since I was in middle school. Mind you, I am 35 years old now. Taking them with me to school, rereading them and rereading them and rereading them, going through moves with them, or they are ones that have been passed down to me from other people in my family. So God only knows what they've gone through. But we have, besides, a well-worn book is a sign of a well-loved book. Okay. We have A Wrinkle in Time. So old. The cover doesn't even stay on it anymore, but I keep this on like a special spot on my bookshelf away from other books because this book is just so like dog-eared and worn. But again, magical adventure with kids going off to like somewhere. I ate this up, and Disney did make a movie, A Wrinkle in Time, and I did watch that, but I prefer the book. But I love this. You know, like, again, you can see the pages are worn and everything like that. This is another book from my childhood that I absolutely loved. Next, we have another series by Melissa Dela Cruz. She is a YA author, like young adult author. I just love the way she writes. I don't know why. I just do. She wrote the Descendants books that are tie-ins to the Descendants Disney movies. She has written she's written a lot. Okay, she's written a lot. She wrote the Alexander Hamilton books that are like, I don't know, like a romance version of I don't know, Alex and Eliza or something like that. I don't know. She's written a lot of books, and I do like her books. And one of the series that she has written that I absolutely loved, that I just ate up, was Blue Bloods. This copy, back when I was really young, me and my grandmother would go to the library and we would get a couple books to tie us over until we would have to, for like 2 weeks, we'd get some books that would tie us over for 2 weeks, and then we would go back to the library after those 2 weeks and return them. Outside of the library, they had book carts that were full of books for all of 25 cents. This was one of the books that my grandmother bought me, and I have hung on to it. Like I said, they're old, they're torn, they're just everything. But Blue Bloods is set in like modern day New York. It revolves around like these rich aristocratic type families, but they're vampires. But she also pulls in elements of like angels and demons and weaves it into how the family, all of this just intertwines with one another. And I absolutely ate it up, and I still love it. I like Mortal Instruments too, and I guess you could say this is kind of like along those lines, but I loved this a lot more because it's like I've never thought to sit back and look at how you can intertwine angels, demons, werewolves, and vampires like all together like that. And I just, this bloodline that just goes through centuries and centuries, and how you have a mate and then you have to go through everything to try and find your, I ate it up. Okay. I ate it up. I loved it. Now, the last two are going to be a little bit darker themed, I guess you can say. These are books that I discovered the end of middle school, right into high school, when I started buying my own books. Books were no longer being bought for me. I was being given gift cards where I could go to the store and I could buy my own books come my birthday, holiday season, stuff like that. One of them is called Smashed: The Story of a Drunken Girlhood. And this is based on a true story. The author who wrote it, it's about her life of when she first discovered taking her first sip of alcohol, and then going through life learning that she had an issue with alcohol and how she overcame it. And I thought, I loved it. Like, stories like that I really, really like. Again, you can tell it's old. It's doesn't even have the back cover anymore. This was a book that I just reread and reread and reread. I loved it. It's a really good book, and her overcoming everything that she went through was, I think, just such a beautiful like story. And then we have Smack. This book, the author isn't even like on here anymore. His name has been ripped off, but it's Melvin Burgess. I cannot tell you how many times I have read this book, and how at least once a year I will pick this book up. I got this when I was 14, and still once a year I will pick this book up and reread it because I fell in love with this book. So Smack. So that is another word for Schmerowin over in, I think, England, because this book is set over there. And just the cover itself where it says Smack, and then as you can see, I'm really looking forward to being clean again. It's this weird thing with Smack. First off, it makes you feel so good, but after a bit, after your body gets used to it, it stops working like that. You start needing it just to stay normal. Then you get sick of it and give it up for a few days. And that's the really nasty thing, because then when you're clean, that's when it works so well. Just that alone, like, that pulled me in. And then the back of the book, you can see where it tells you a little bit about it. A searing account of two young runaways' descent into Schmerowin addiction and their faltering climb back out. And it says, hits you smack in the face. It not only has sex and drugs and rock and roll, but it has elements far more rare. It tells the truth. It doesn't preach. It makes you think. As addictive as the drug it profiles. This book details the accounts of two young runaways, a girl and a boy. They have fallen in love. The parents won't let the girl be with the boy because he comes from a bad family. The girl hates that. They run away, and it just details them living on the streets at first. And then they come across this group of kids, and they almost label it as, oh, this is our found family. We love them. They're found family, this and that. And you think everything's going to go great. They found a family. They're going to make it. They're going to stay. And then they learn about drugs and stuff like that, and how the girl, she comes to a realization that she needs to become clean. It just details from the moment they run away until years later. And the struggle that they went through, like, watching a documentary is one thing, but this book, the emotion that gets written in the pages itself, it pulls you in. And like they said on the back, it doesn't preach. It necessarily like tells you the truth, and it makes you step back and think like, wow. Like I loved it. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I could say it's right along the lines of like Go Ask Alice. That was another book that I loved. And Crank. The only issue that I had with books like Crank, that author, the way she writes, I finished that book in no time because she writes him in like poems. And while the poems are beautiful and you can get a feel of what is going on in the book, I just end up finishing those books so quickly. But yes, my all-time favorite book that I have carried with me through all of these years and will reread and reread and reread like I've never read it before is Smack. So if you like books that document people going through a hardship, overcoming obstacles, going through addiction and overcoming it and stuff like that, I highly recommend Smack. And those were my books that I have carried throughout my entire childhood that I will not part with, that I absolutely love, that I will reread again and again. And my daughter has started reading The Golden Compass, because like I said, that's where her name came from. And she loved Bunnicla. I can't say the word, but yeah. And then Shiloh. She liked it, but she doesn't want to reread it because she cried at one of the scenes in the book. But yes, let me know if you have read any of these. And let me know if you have any books from your childhood or your teen years or anything like that that you absolutely love and you will not part with and you will continue to reread over and over again and will recommend them to other people, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, let me know. And I hope to see you in the next video. Love you. Bye.